guys, my name is Savannah. Welcome to our brand new franchise project. This project is going to be called Mesa Garden Zoo, and it's a desert franchise series. As you can see, we are in the desert map in the South America setting because I liked the dirt color and the backdrop. That's basically it. So I have no plans in making this a South America specific zoo in terms of either the architecture or the animals, but I just liked how this map looked. It had the feeling that I was going for. So in this zoo, I have it on medium for now. We can possibly change that later, but let me pause it so too much time doesn't go by because money is important in this game. I have to remember now that we're actually playing and not just building pretty things. I want to make it a little bit easier on myself, not worry too much about some of the management stuff, and be able to build pretty things. So the very first thing I want to start off with is actually by going to our map. And if we go to this one, you can see all the franchise zoos actually start with this kind of half circle that you're able to use. So the very first thing that I do is take a terrain paint, whichever one you want, one that'll stick out. On desert zoos, the grass will stick out. And then I'm just gonna paint a half circle on here. This is going to tell me where my power line is, basically. And I want to try to make everything that we start with within this semicircle. And that way we don't have to buy generators or pay for power too soon. I don't know if it really helps, but that's what we're going to go with. Try to keep everything contained. I do, of course, in this project, want to try to be as detailed as possible. So I am going to try to build a parking lot over here. I want the entrance to kind of come through here and off to the side a little bit. And I'm thinking, because it's a desert zoo, I actually want to implement lots of like man-made water, fountains, features, things like that, to really bring like the greenery, and then the contrast between the blue and the orange is what I am really excited for a desert zoo. I think it's just so pretty. So yeah, that's the very first thing I do. The second thing that I do is get rid of all of this nonsense. We don't need it. We can sell it. We can get the money, and that way it's not in our way. So I'm going to sell all these trees, the ones even behind here, as long as I don't select the spawn points or the pathing, it will let me delete it. So there you go. We have our very blank, brand new franchise map. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the rough layout. I'm going to throw down some facilities. The facilities will probably go like here. Path will come out, go this way a little bit. I'm going to have kind of a curved entrance, I think is what we're going for. And then our very first habitat animal. So let me go ahead and get the bare bones stuff down, and I'll see you in just a minute. Okay, look, it's not pretty, and this little itty bit probably took me about an hour, but I have a vision, and you have to trust me. So when you walk in, this will become parking lot over here. I really wanted to use the black asphalt path to kind of quickly mark it out, but I can't spend unnecessary money. So you just have to envision and stay with me. So parking lot over here. I'm imagining a fairly small parking lot where like you'll kind of drive in from over here. This will be like the main parking lot. And then maybe there's some like handicap parking here, because this is really going to be the main plaza entrance. I'm thinking of making it kind of curved like this. And then these two information booths are going to be the ticket booths. So this is going to be a ticket building here. This is where guests walk through. And then there'll be another just admin style building on this side, where clearly I've put all of our facilities that we're going to need. And then this will be the threshold where you actually enter the zoo. Once you're in the zoo, we have this little water feature here where you walk over it with the bridge. Took me way too long, but it is how I wanted it. Water and path never mix, don't recommend. On the animal side of things, I'm actually thinking, and I thought about this for a long time, I'm thinking flamingos and red-crowned crane. I really wanted this water feature to be utilized for an animal, but one animal can't go back and forth through here because the guests are going to walk over here, and I don't want to make this like a walk-through habitat. So I'm thinking that if we give the flamingos this side and the red-crowned cranes this side, if you imagine there being a building right here, kind of backing up right against this water, the red-crowned crane habitat would kind of come through here, come around, and then follow this path. And then similarly, the flamingo habitat would back up against this building here and then kind of follow this outline out here. So that is what I'm thinking. Then once you get past these habitats, then we have a little bit more of a plaza area, which I might end up making this just a little bit bigger and maybe mirroring this like over here. Like if we take a path here and we kind of make another little cutout, one that looks prettier than that, one that's not so sharp angled. So like, oh, actually I kind of like if it meets up, do that again. There we go. If it kind of meets up over there and then like there, oh God, I've created a face. I am gonna leave it. Okay. Yeah, eyeballs. It's like a what are those called? The masquerade mask. There you go. Now you can't unsee it. You're welcome. So this will be a little bit more of a plaza area and then probably another habitat over here. I might actually smooth out these corners just a little bit too. I'm really wanting to, one, keep in mind kind of realism like we try to do on the channel. So just realism inspired, but keeping it very open for guests. I had really big problems with both Tully Zoo and also Windfill Zoo, where there was lots of congestion. So I'm already worried about this, but I made it 8 meters wide. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that is okay. I am going to put an animal on either side, so guests are likely going to stop and look at them, but hopefully they come around and look at them over here as well. And we've given them other options to kind of look at. So hopefully that will be okay. So we're going to jump in now to a little time lapse, and I'm probably going, we'll see how far I get. I'm going to start on one side of the habitat and see how far we get on the other. So let's get started. I went back and forth for so long on what animal to add first to this zoo. And I know you just heard me talk about the plan and that we're going to do flamingos and, use the water and do a bridge over, and all of that is still the same. But what you didn't see is that in between when I recorded that first part and now when I'm sitting down doing the voiceover at the very end of the episode when it's kind of all put together, I went back and forth on maybe prairie dogs, maybe capybaras, maybe something else. I could not decide what animal to use as our first animal in this zoo, and my major hang-up was that I kind of tend to always put flamingos at the front, but that's because that's where flamingos belong. They belong in the front of the zoo. So I ended up circling back and sticking with that idea, and I'm so happy that I did because I think this habitat turned out really nicely. Now, of course, it isn't completely finished. So we get the majority of the habitat done, and then we do get flamingos inside, but I do want to do a little bit more detailing. They need a little bit more rocks, a little bit more foliage, stuff like that, just to make the habitat pretty, but it suits their needs as it stands right now. So in this time lapse, you saw me just create that fence. I'm really happy with how that fence came out. I'm actually using photos from the Phoenix Zoo as my reference pictures for this one. And then I also found, and I don't know where it is, but I found a really cool looking flamingo habitat reference picture, which ends up taking control over my vision. And this fence that we're building right here ends up getting deleted, and I build an entirely new one. I do keep this though, because I'm happy with how that it looks. But I just found something that fit the flamingos just a little bit better. It's kind of like a deserty island, almost kind of bringing in some tropical feeling. Because I really want to do some theming in this zoo and make everything look as pretty as we possibly can, which is what we always do in Planet Zoo. But I'm doing just some like logs and planting on this side of the fence, just kind of simulating what would keep the flamingos from going right up to the fence to create a little bit of spacing. I didn't want to necessarily do like a double fence or anything because I wanted the view for the guests to still be unobstructed. So I'm just putting down some things here just to give a little bit of space so that the people can't actually like reach out and touch the flamingos. Obviously, that's never going to happen in Planet Zoo, but just kind of keeping in mind some of that little like realism inspired feeling that we try to keep here on the channel. And I'm really happy with how this came out. We actually have quite a few different little log pieces. You can see there I'm using the twilight branch and then some of these birch branches that came in an update a while ago, and then just some deserty foliage and things like that, and plenty of rocks. Of course, plenty of rocks. I am a little worried when we get the flamingos in. They do already feel pretty satisfied with the amount of foliage that we have in the exhibit, and I am very much not satisfied with the amount of foliage that's in the exhibit. So the flamingos and I are going to have a bit of an argument on how much planting they actually need, but hopefully we'll be able to make it look pretty and sufficient for them. Now we are cementing the bottom of this pool, again, just to make it look like it is a man-made reservoir of water that the flamingos can walk in, coloring the water so that it looks a little bit dirty, but still kind of blue at the bottom. You know, the idea being that the concrete is painted to give it a certain look, but obviously flamingos are filthy, and so they're going to get the water dirty. So I wanted it to be just a little bit cloudy, just to give that appearance that it is a used and dirty pool. And then raising up the ground just a little bit because I wanted it just to kind of be a wading pool for them, not necessarily them going in there and actually swimming. So they do go in there and they walk around. It ends up being like the perfect height, so I'm very pleased with that. And then this is probably the reason why they are unhappy with the amount of foliage. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is moving the barrier to mirror the edge of the pool, rather than how I set it up right now is I have it going kind of around the entirety of where I just put all those trees and things. And so it's counting that foliage as part of the flamingo's habitat. You can see there. I mean, I cut off the tree a little bit, but a lot of like the grass and stuff in the front is all part of their habitat still. So I think if I edit the barrier, I can kind of work around it just a little bit and make it so that we can put a few more plants and trees. I do end up needing to adjust the barrier, which we don't do either, to make the entrance on the other side. Because right now I kind of have it coming out of that, what's going to be like an admin style building at the front of our entrance. And that is not where I want like the backstage flamingo area to be. I want it to be over on the right-hand side. So I do need to move the barrier, but we do end up getting our flamingos in. And they are very happy. I'm very excited about that. And before the episode is over, we already have like pregnant flamingos. So we're going to have babies sometime very, very soon. We do throw in just a couple things of enrichment for them. Obviously, they need to be happy, but I wanted to make this like foraging pond look like it is a permanent staple in the habitat. So here you can see I'm just taking rocks and surrounding the entirety of the outside, so that it's going to look like it's integrated into the habitat and like it's not something that we're going to probably change out. I know in franchise mode, they do like to rotate through enrichment so that they don't get bored, and that is completely realistic and something that we will be doing to keep the animals happy, but I just don't think that the foraging thing is one that we're going to rotate out. We'll try to do our best to keep them happy with the rest of the foliage. Nope, the rest of the enrichment, not foliage, switching out and being different, because I want that just to be a permanent part of the exhibit. And here you can see I am working on the fencing for the back of the exhibit. So this is going to give a really cool looking like facade to the back, I guess. So all of this is just theming. We are going to make the barrier door come out of this building. So this is meant to be like the backstage building for the flamingos. but the majority of the decorations is just theming, just decoration to make it look pretty. I am working directly off of a reference picture here, but I completely forget where it's from, so I apologize. I do go a bit overboard for a first episode and decorations, so I spend quite a lot of money, and we get down to about $4,000 in the zoo. So I may potentially have to spend some time just letting the game run and having the flamingos get taken care of and raising up some money for our next episode, because stuff like that I really don't want to include in this franchise series because it's not fun to watch, right? It's not fun to do either, but it's not fun to watch. So I just kind of want to do that off camera so that we have enough money to kind of keep playing, keep building, and make things as pretty as possible. This is not a series that I necessarily want to completely rush through, and this is a fairly long time lapse, and I'm thinking this may potentially be the norm. I will try to mix in some real-time building because I do know how much people enjoy seeing that. But honestly, it's a bit of a struggle for me. My mind doesn't necessarily process words out of my mouth at the same time it's processing how to build things. So I do struggle a little bit just to talk while I'm building intricate things. But I do want to include it because I know some people do like to see it. And then, of course, I will always talk over all of the time lapses just to explain what I'm doing. And that way it's not just music and really fast building. Maybe I'll have a story for you. Maybe I'll have a fun fact for you. Maybe I'll just ramble. We'll have to see how the episodes turn out. But yeah, the next episode is going to be red-crowned crane on the other side of this habitat. And I really want to kind of keep it maybe the same kind of sort of theming on the other side, like a desert tropical island kind of thing. I have a kind of a weird theme that we're going for. But again, I'm using the Phoenix Zoo as my reference for things like fencing and foliage and plants, because I do want this to be more of like a deserty grassland with a little bit of tropical zoo rather than like the traditional, what I think when you say desert, I think like cactus and sand and like open spaces of nothingness. That is not necessarily what I want for this zoo. I want it to be a little bit more lush and a little bit more planted. As you can see, I've used my favorite tree already. Both of them, the fever tree and the mapingo tree, are out there. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm going for. Kind of like safari, I guess. Safari feeling rather than like desert. But as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it's really because I love the contrast of the sand and the sky, and those kind of colors going together is what I'm really, really excited about. So yeah, that is my plan for the series. We're going to kind of finish up just kind of the front-facing area of this building. It's becoming a theme now that I don't do the backs of things, but we will. It's okay. I will not forget it and leave it. But for now, I just needed to make sure that the animals were going to be contained and they weren't going to escape on us, because one thing that's different from franchise mode to sandbox mode, I mean, there are many things, but one of the things that I have to remind myself about is that these animals, I can't turn off escapes. So I have to make sure that the entirety of the exhibit is completely surrounded and not just like implied that they can't get out, but made sure that they can't get out. So I needed to make sure I finished the front of this building so that they didn't get out and escape on us, because that would not be a good way to start a brand new zoo. I am really happy with how this building came out. I am, of course, like I mentioned already a couple times, I'm working off of a reference picture, but I was also pulling some inspiration from my recent vlog that I edited and put up on the channel from the Florida Zoo in Tampa. Beautiful zoo, uses tons of color, and so that's kind of what I wanted to bring into this zoo as well. I need to learn to build with more color, so this is me choosing like turquoise and teal for the roof and yellow for the front of the building, something bright and fun and colorful, mixed with the thatching on the roof. I think I'm really happy with this little building. And things like this, once I kind of finish up the building and it is in fact an actual building and not just a front wall, will be something that I will try to put up on the workshop to share. Now you can see I'm starting to build these little like shelters. It's something again that was in the reference picture that they had for the flamingos to be underneath. Unfortunately, it only gives them like 10% hard shelter. They do have good enough welfare, but we might have to figure out something just slightly different for them so that they actually have some hard shelter. I don't know, because I think flamingos don't really necessarily need hard shelter. They're pretty hardy animals and they can be out in the weather and things like that, especially like in a desert zoo like this where it's not going to snow, it's not going to get super cold or anything like that. So they don't necessarily need large amounts of hard shelter, but the game thinks they do. So we're going to have to bend a little bit and adapt to what the game kind of wants. So we'll see how that turns out. Just adding a couple more finishing touches here, just some greenery in the background so that the thumbnail looks pretty is honestly the only reason why I added those things at the very end. And let's get back to the real time. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I did not put too much foliage or anything else in there because I want to go ahead and get the animals in before we do anything else. So let's go to our marketplace and search for greater flamingo. It is a bit bigger than I intended it to be, but hopefully they'll like it. Really, this is it for flamingos? I would have thought we would have had a lot more options. I'm going to try to use our conservation credits, which looks like it's not going to happen because there's only 2 males available for conservation credits. Let me look at the Zoopedia because I actually forget what these guys... Oh, that's right. Okay, 500 males, 500 females. I am not worried at all about overcrowding these guys, but I am hoping that the water prevents the stress. So we got a male. Let's see if we can pick some good females. You're not too bad. I'm not going to try to go for like perfect stats. We're going to let them breed and hopefully improve that on their own. Wow, that was the best one that we have options for. Let's go ahead and get you just because you're for conservation credits. And then I guess you and you. And we'll start off with that. I don't want to spend... Oh, I did not realize that I was going to have animals for my other franchise zoos, even though the other franchise zoos are no longer a thing. Okay, well, that's cool. Let's see how many greater flamingos we actually have then. Because I probably have some from other... Oh, yes, I do. Oh, my goodness. Okay, well... well, I have a lot of flamingos then. I guess, do we just put them all in the zoo and see what happens? Let's go ahead and let them go into the zoo. I have some donation boxes. These guys, as soon as they get in there, will be able to select this education. I did put down some benches. I was thinking maybe we throw a exhibit animal here just to start getting money for... Do I not have any caretakers? Oh, I haven't hired any keepers. That would be really helpful if I hired the people that need to bring the flamingos into the zoo. So there's a caretaker. Here's a keeper. Let's see. Let's hire a vet as well. A vet and a mechanic. I think that's all we need for right now. So go ahead, get to it. Bring our little maflingos into their habitat. So yeah, so I think exhibit animal maybe right here, just to kind of start having them breed so that we can get, oh good, they do make it in. I want to move this over to here at some point, but for now it's okay right there. Let's see what you guys think. Hey, they actually kind of like it. What about your plants and things? Oh, hard shelter. Dang it, does this not count for hard shelter? Is it too low? Is that the problem? Does that count now? 10%? What if we duplicate it? Does this add more? Oh. It did and then it didn't? It's going down? Okay, well, shoot. Oh my lord, look at how many people there are already. Everybody wants to see the maflingos. Very cool. So I will probably need to figure out their hard shelter, but for now, it's not actually affecting their welfare. You can see we're still at 89%. How is their enrichment? Enrichment is good. It's at 100%. They love their little pond thingy. Very good. Okay, well, yeah. So I'm hoping that with them being able to get far enough away from people, they're not going to get too stressed out, because that was a problem before. But also thinking maybe this becomes like a rock wall eventually to give them a little bit more space away from people. Let's go ahead and do the education, because we want to make sure that we have that, because that will help us out. We can duplicate this one and put this one on this side of the habitat, and maybe I'll just raise it up on some rocks or something. And that way it's actually, well, we can actually probably, yeah, like it's on this rock. That's pretty good. That's pretty good right there. Then we got some education for them on this side. We got people donating. That's great, because I spent quite a lot of money on this habitat, and I was worried about running out of money on the very first episode. So hopefully that doesn't happen. The other thing that I wanted to do is, if we go to the main page here, I wanted to shorten the time our zoo was open, and that way it kind of stays like light and bright, and the lighting stays good, so that we can look at our animals. What were the other things that I wanted to add? So they have food, they have water, they have enrichment. These guys are all happy. I have so many. Oh, social space is starting to become a problem. So it is starting to become a problem. Okay, well, let's take a look at our animals then and figure out, since I had way more than I thought. You and you and you. I'm getting rid of really old ones. Actually, it's basically all of them that are from my other zoo. Why is your name just S? Let's release you to the wild, get some more conservation credits. Only 10, that's great. That was probably because it only released a couple of them. I'm going to get rid of these, because these were designations for, I think it was Tolly Zoo that we had them in. We're going to name you Sam, just so you're not S. There we go. Okay, so yeah, so we have quite a few options there. Their space is now good. They are probably going to have babies sometime soon. And then their plant coverage, that's also what I wanted to make sure of. So plants is 90%, cleanliness, temperature. Okay, cool. Because I want to add way more foliage, and they are almost over. But I wanted to add like a bunch more grass, because the grass just adds so much detail to the habitat. Hopefully this doesn't add too much in terms of coverage for them. But I will probably do most of that in another episode. How much did that just little bit do? Yeah, that raised them up from 18% to 21%, just that little bit. So that's probably going to be a problem. We're going to have to add a lot more rocks to this habitat. But yeah, there we go. Let's see about getting a facility. I'm going to have to remember where everything is now that we're actually playing the game. Exhibits, exhibit box, and maybe we'll just put some really blank boxes along this path just to start, I guess, just to start having them breed so that we can actually get, sell them for money. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. I don't know in terms of what animals to get. We want to go with some desert things, preferably not spiders. What about a common death adder? You're terrible. So male and female, we'll do that. And then the other one was the Gila monsters, the first one that comes to mind. Ooh, fire salamander. Doesn't fit our theme. Moving on. Gila monster right here. So if we get a female and a male, I guess the stats don't really truly matter. We'll send you here, and then we'll send you guys over here. That also hopefully will kind of draw the guests down this way. I know I'm low on cash. It's okay. We'll draw them down this way so that they're not super overcrowding the animals. So down in temperature and up, way up in humidity. Let's see, where are you wanting to be? That's going to be a little too low. We'll stop you there. A little bit higher. A little bit higher. Okay, so that's good. Is there anything? No, we have to research that. But overall, that welfare is okay, so I'm okay with that. Let's select your humidity. Needs to go up just a bit, but your temperature is great. Okay. Beautiful. So we have that. Maybe we should get a donation bin over here as well. And then just some really quick education signs, I'm thinking, just because, again, we want them to donate and learn, and all this will be adjusted later, but I'm just going to throw a really quick sign in front of both of these, and that way people just know what they are. We'll do it on this side. And we don't have to worry about that, because we have to remember that guests are a thing when we're playing in franchise. So there we go. So we have that, we have benches, we have trash cans, but we only have one. So I'm going to change the color on this one. I probably should add more, right? I think more trash cans is always better than less trash cans. So what if we add one? Can I not add one at all on here? I guess I'll add one right here and maybe like right here. There's not really anything that they can, maybe receipts. So we'll add one there for now. There's not really anything they can accumulate trash with yet. But you know, Planet Zoo guests find a way. They find a way to mess things up. They sure do. Are we losing money or making? Okay, so we are being profitable. I just need to relax on the spending a little bit. Oh, it's nighttime. That's kind of cool. I never play in nighttime. We'll have to pay attention to lighting as well, too. This looks really cool. I'm so happy with this little house. I'm sure I talked about it in the voiceover on the speed build, but I'm so happy with this little house and the way the backdrop of this habitat came out. So yeah, so far they're not stressing, which is like music to my ears, because normally the stress, and maybe it's because we were playing in hard mode, but it just was absolutely ridiculous, the amount of stress that we were dealing with a lot of the animals. So maybe because we're on medium, it's not going to be that big of a deal, which is fantastic and totally fine with me. So yeah. All right. I kind of don't want it to be dark for this long though. So should we, does this make it lighter? No, it's nighttime. Let's keep it this way. Ah, there we go. We'll just have a zoo that's like open not a lot. Can we raise this to 5 maybe without them getting upset? We'll see. Just as much money as we can get. So there we go. All right, you guys. And with that, with this beautiful sunset and these guys, oh no, I was wrong. Already I feel this is going to get way too congested, so we might have to do like an offshoot or make this fatter. Or maybe 2 entrances. Maybe this is the entrance and then the exit's over here, and then obviously the guests will just kind of go wherever they please. But if we give them 2 options, it won't necessarily be the biggest deal. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But let me know, you guys, any comments, suggestions, feedback. Let me know what you think about the desert theme, about the direction that we're going. And then, of course, suggestions. If you want to name any of our animals, leave that down below in the comments section, and I'll go through and we'll try to name some animals as we go through this series. But thank you guys so much for watching. I am really loving playing franchise again, and I really look forward to the next episode. If you guys did enjoy the video and you made it this far, go ahead and leave a like. It really does help me out, and I greatly do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future Planet Zoo content. And of course, as always, you can check out our merch on my website at simplysavannahgaming.com. You can follow me on my social media accounts. All the fun links are down in that description below, so be sure to check it out before you go. And until next time, I will talk at you guys in the next video. Bye!